Hi, this is Billie Beene here with a U.S. News update. Today's date, August 15, 2024, time about 2 p.m. in Texas. Some of my sources are God in the Bible Patriot Subscriber, BPEARTHWATCH, JWTV, Steve Quayle's aggregate site Burning Platform, and InfoWars with Alex Jones, Breitbart, New York Times, Joshua Phillip with CROSSROADS Plus. And some of the things we will cover. A pole shift coming soon. And what about these unique sunspots we're seeing? And a lockdown comes off, brought about by the UN and WHO. And Walz and the CCP, and who controls the U.S. government, and will President Trump really be arrested September 18? Let's get to it. Okay, I have a Patriot subscriber from Florida who says, my VA also has a free taxi, but it's not good for me based on locations and where they want me to go. And he says they stonewall the vets to save $1 and send it overseas. I know. We look forward to that system being rectified in the future. Now, I'm going to begin by talking about what's going on in space weather that impacts communication systems on Earth. Suspicious Observer's Ben Davidson brings this out today. Yesterday, August 14, we had 2 M flares and 1 X flare. Today, August 15, it's quiet, but the X flare is bringing in a CME. NOAA and NASA have slightly different time projections for it arriving, but in the next few days. And this is new information for me. Evidence of a magnetic pole shift I've covered before. I know it's found in ice cores, cores of the ocean, tree rings. But now it's been discovered in peat deposits. And what peat deposits are, P-E-A-T, they're like bogs or wetlands where they have partially decayed vegetation. So, but they are able now to use the bogs, the wetlands, to bring evidence for climate change, change in pollens, and to go back as far as 12,000 years when there was a big glacier melt. And we're seeing some evidence of that happening now. Now, Cliff High and Dr. William Mount are bringing this out, as are other fields. Their energy on Earth is changing because the Earth's position with regard to the galactic plane in space is changing. So Earth is rising above the galactic plane. More energy is coming to Earth and to the sun. That's one of the reasons we're seeing more solar activity. And we have this. So Dr. William Mount says the X flare from yesterday caused global outages in international banks. I have not heard that anywhere else. And he brings this new information out that on the far side of the sun, there are 2 sunspots that are vibrating differently and causing the sun to vibrate differently. And this has not been seen in approximately 100 years. So I did a little research. In 1921, there was a strong geomagnetic storm that impacted electrical systems, telephone stations, signal towers, and communications were out for several hours. Now, this 1921 storm is being compared to the March 1989 solar storm, and that impacted communications in the U.S. and around the world, and caused a 9-hour outage of all electricity in Quebec. Because, based on the auroras being seen in Texas and Florida, this would be rated as a G5 with a KP index of 9 with regard to the auroras. So we can speculate that these sunspots on the far side of the sun that are slowly rotating toward Earth possibly could result in a strong geomagnetic storm, as was evidenced, because there's evidence that the same type activity on the sun occurred in 1921 and 1989. So that's going on. But I found it odd, no mainstream media is talking about the X-flare from yesterday causing a global outage in communications for banks. But that's going on. And now we have this. With the great Attorney General for the state of Texas, Ken Paxton. Well, the Dallas State Fair's volunteer directors decided to try a deep state move to remove from the citizens of Texas and other people visiting the Dallas Fair this year their Second Amendment rights. There was apparently an incident last year, a shooting at the fair, and 3 people were injured. So this volunteer director group says, oh, this year no one can bring concealed weapons or any weapons to the Dallas Fair. Well, the Texas AG, Ken Paxton, said to the city of Dallas and the volunteer directors, you have 15 days to take this down, or you can face a lawsuit from the state of Texas. You cannot take away citizens' rights to their Second Amendment. It violates the Constitution and Texas state law. And we say, way to go, AG Ken Paxton, because we know historically the deep state began small to remove disarmed citizens and then expands that taking away of the ability to be armed by citizens so it can bring in its own military and take down the citizens. Yeah, can't allow that even in a small area. Sequel's aggregate site, burning platform, and Alex Jones. Who controls the U.S. government? We know it isn't JB, who is an actor masquerading as the President of the United States. It isn't Lloyd Austin, posing as the Secretary of Defense, also an actor, double. But now we have some names of individuals who operate on behalf of the deep state to control America. Individuals such as the Inspector General, Michael Horowitz, and from the DOJ, Merrick Garland, from the FBI, Chris Wray, and for me, I would have to add also the CIA, Bill Burns. I'm sure he needs to be on this list too. And the director of OPR, Jeffrey Ragsdale, more individuals from the Department of Justice, Corey Amundson, Lisa Monaco, Marshall Miller. So it's good to know who is this group of unelected individuals functioning on behalf of the deep state to then transmit information. We know that Obama has been, or it's widely believed, Obama has been the handler for JB. So that's going on. It's good to have some concept of who's on first, that old Abbott and Costello comedy. Now we have this coming out about coups taking place, and we, the people of America, saw a coup by Congress in January of 2021 when Congress said JB won the election of 2020, when all of them knew that was not true. So we have now another coup going on inside the Democratic Party, one group headed up by Pelosi, Schumer, Obama, on behalf of Obama, JB. But now, since a news story came out in the New York Times yesterday, bringing forth evidence from Hunter Biden's laptop that the whole, I believe it's 17 members of the Biden family benefited from pay for play with regard to Burisma Energy in Ukraine. And that story is now being put forth in the New York Times. So this group is distancing itself from JB, but we have a second deep state group trying to gain control of the Democratic Party backed by Soros. And these two groups are backed by one group Rothschild, one group Rockefeller, deep state players. So Soros is backing KH and Tim Walz. And I have more information on Tim Walz. Apparently there's nothing positive about Tim Walz. I even saw on Facebook. Yeah, Tim Walz says he coached a high school sports championship, state championship group. But the real truth is he was coaching a 9th grade, I think it was basketball, from which he was fired when he racked up a DWI. So the people are keeping track of who is Tim Walz, and the military is strongly pushing back. Now we're seeing a group identified as controlling the U.S. government. We're seeing groups trying to control the Democratic Party. And now we have this. So my sources for this are Burning Platform, JWTV, BPEARTHWATCH. Who yesterday? Oh, there's a global pandemic. We've had like 2 cases in Africa of monkeypox. So we've got to bring about a global pandemic. And oh, don't worry, we already have pharma for the arm for this new variant, not seen before a few months ago, but we've got a pharma for the arm for everyone. And apparently the plan by the UN, and we know the UN, we're seeing evidence of this in UK also, where citizens are having to defend themselves against illegals who are attacking them with machetes and knives, while the UK police, directed by Starmer, apparently also a deep state operative, to arrest the citizens and let the attackers go free. Also coordinated evidence is coming out in the UK by the UN, as we have been seeing in the US, coming across the border, millions, some say 20 million, CCP military, Iranian military, and terrorists from around the world. And when they come in, they get the debit cards issued by the UN. It is the UN who will activate sleeper cells to attack citizens on a global basis, including the US and the UK. Now, WHO and JWTV brought this out. Practices are being made now inside the US, incorporating elements of Jade Helm, a US military exercise that took place in 2015 to control US citizens. And I've been curious as to why so many references are being made now about posse comitatus. Posse comitatus is a ruling in the US whereby the US military may not enforce US domestic law against US citizens. That's the function of the police. So the US military cannot come against American citizens for, regular domestic law situations. However, it's being said, and I've heard this from multiple sources, and I wondered, why is this coming out? Because you can detect a pattern of release of information when it is the same information that's coming from different genres of sources, different types of sources. Distinguishing between posse comitatus and when the U.S. military may function inside the U.S. And it may function inside the U.S. as a military when it is defending America, or when it is defending America from terrorists that are inside the U.S. So the U.S. military certainly can operate to defend America from outside foreign situations, but this is being stressed. The U.S. military can also operate inside the U.S. against terrorists. Now, it's good to know President Trump is in charge of most of the military. But this UN WHO declaration of a global monkeypox and the information coming from JWTV of the exercises being put in place now inside the U.S. by Homeland Security, FBI, CIA, FEMA, wherein these government groups would take control of all power across the U.S., superseding state governors and domestic police, and could, in this case, under WHO, go door to door and force pharma for the arm upon American citizens. These U.S. government groups are practicing to do that very thing. So we see deep state is running amok, isn't it? So it's good that we can identify a group of individuals who would be allied with the UN and WHO and the deep state. So that's going on. Now we have this. Yeah, all right. So this ties in with UN, WHO, and the CDC are all, the U.S. government it has been taken over by individuals functioning for foreign entities, actually, operating primarily out of Switzerland. So, we had a recent plane crash in Brazil a few days ago, and where the plane, it was a turboprop small plane, 17,000. Now, there was evidence, there was icing there, and that Blanco Reno, who's an expert in these kind of planes, said that once it goes into a death spiral based on its design, it can't pull out. Well, evidence is coming out now that possibly there was an additional cause for that crash, as the plane contained 6 doctors and 2 interns who had just finished their internship. They were cancer doctors, and they were going to a medical conference in Sao Paulo, and they were going to present information that the mRNA COVID pharma for the arm, recall a recent court decision put forth that the COVID pharma for the arm was not a vaccine. It was not designed to stop the spread of any disease. It was instead a form of therapy to decrease symptoms of COVID. So now, monkeypox, yeah, they're going to be bringing out the pharma for the arm, and it's also going to include mRNA. And as I've brought up before, the pharma for the arm that contains mRNA is designed to edit human DNA. And these doctors were bringing forth information linking the COVID pharma for the arm with turbo cancers. You know, fast acting, you're diagnosed with cancer in a month you're dead. Also diagnosing cancers in young teens and people in their 20s and 30s. So I'll list the sources for this. It was on BeForeIt'sNEWS, and it was based on reporting by a certain individual. I'll list that for you. And also associated with COVID pharma for the arm was the death last week of a former YouTube CEO, Walz+Ccp, a woman in her early 50s. She died suddenly. And just prior to her passing, I believe her son was 17, and he also passed away. But it's believed that they had taken the pharma for the arm. Now, Breitbart is putting this forth. Yeah, this is about Tim Walz, currently running with KH as vice president, that he brags about being to China 30 times, and he loves China. Can we say CCP payroll? Well, Breitbart and also Joshua Phillip with CROSSROADS is linking Tim Walz with a group in Minnesota who support CCP secret police stations that are now located in many places in the U.S. and primarily in the states where the governors are DIMs. And the function of the secret CCP police stations inside the U.S. and other nations is to intimidate Chinese American citizens to not say anything negative about China. So that's going on. Yeah. The CCP intel, the function of the police stations is to intimidate, control Chinese U.S. citizens. This is from Breitbart. And the CCP are widely located in Minnesota. Tim Walz is currently the governor of Minnesota. And he in the Twin Cities, Minneapolis and St. Paul. And Peter Schwarzer says that Tim Walz is tied to the secret Chinese police stations that also kidnap individuals. They kidnap Chinese American citizens who are critical of China. And Joshua PHILIPP currently is talking about the banks in China. Yeah, a lot of them are going belly up. There are some money problems in China with regard to bonds, and the government tries to intervene in the internet investment or the stock market, which is not working well. And Joshua PHILIPP brings this out. There's a secret plan in the U.S. to activate sleeper cells, and false information will be put forth through the mainstream media. And this has to do with the CCP putting forth false information, and the secret Chinese police, CCP police departments especially want to go after individuals who practice Falun Gong. It's F-A-L-U-N, Falun Gong, G-O-N-G, which is simply something like yoga. They do exercises, they think positive thoughts, and I've not been able to understand why the CCP inside China and inside the U.S. want to go after this group. But now I've learned it's because Falun Gong represents an historic Chinese practice and group of individuals. And the CCP, using the basis upon which communism is founded and practiced and enforced, they always go after history, especially of culture in any nation. They want to wipe out any practices and replace it with communism based on atheism and no compassion communism. So this is why. And Tim Walz heads up a group in Minnesota that cooperates with the secret CCP police. So yeah, that's going on. And now from Breitbart, we have this. No, this is from Dr. William Mount. Okay, the trial, the fake trial that went on in New York City, headed up by the New York City District Attorney Alvin Bragg and the judge, whose name I can't recall at the moment, planned to arrest President Trump September 18, even though the Supreme Court has invalidated this fake trial that went on in New York City. The New York City District Attorney is going to override the Supreme Court and arrest President Trump September 18. So yeah, that's going on. So I think we need to be in prayer. I think President Trump, based on that recent assassination attempt, when he turned his head just the right way to avoid being assassinated, visibly proves that God has his hand on President Trump. I believe we should be in prayer for this Alvin Bragg. So a short prayer now. And I do believe that the deep state is going to do everything they can to destroy President Trump and America during September and October, because the deep state cannot allow President Trump to get back in the saddle, at which time he's going to pardon all the J6ers. He's going to stop all the money and weapons to Israel and Ukraine, and work on benefiting America and restoring America. So we need to be in prayer, President Trump, America, and certainly for our children. So a short prayer. And this addresses secret backdoors to software, like taking cyber attacks, a prayer against cyber attacks that I received from God a few months ago. And the name of the prayer is Strike the Deceivers. We ask, Father, for your angels of AI technology to strike the deceivers of many colors embedded in systems upon earth and servers upon earth. Let your words, O Lord, come to pass and bring down their nest in the stars and in Leviathan in the deep oceans, and Behemoth in all sandy deserts. And we thank you, God the Father, God the Son, Jesus, whom many call Yeshua, and God the Holy Spirit. I say to my family and friends, remain steady out there, continue to pray. God is in charge, and he is on the move. I love you, and I'll see you soon.